Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sonya, also known as SG from Let the Ladies Speak podcast, where we have healthy discussions about life, love, dating, and relationships while promoting healing and self-love. Today I want to talk about Will and Jada Smith. But before I get started, I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. If you are a new subscriber, welcome. If you are returning, thank you for returning. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. You can be anywhere else, but you choose to watch my content, and I appreciate you for it. Will Smith has resurfaced the entanglement, right? So let's get into this for a little bit. I just want to have a brief conversation about it. I'm not going to go too much in detail. I try to stay away from married people things because I am not married. So I'm not going to go too much into detail regarding that. But as you guys know, I'm big on healing and self-love. And I think some of the issues they have in the dynamic in this relationship kind of speaks to that, especially on Jada's end. And she herself has spoken openly and honestly about it, even up to this date. So I'm going to come from it from that angle, but I do want to give my thoughts, and then I have some questions for you guys as well. So Will Smith has a book, and he did an interview with GQ magazine talking about the book, and he touched briefly on their marriage, stating that basically Jada wasn't the only one who had an affair, or who stepped outside their marriage, or however they want to say it, since it was a consensual open they have a consensual open non-monogamous relationship. First and foremost, I don't think any of us are surprised. I think we all kind of knew. There's been things swarming around about them for years, about them having an open marriage. I personally don't frown upon an open marriage because I feel like whatever works for you two is your business. I think what went wrong last July with the whole August Alsina situation was that it became messy. It became sloppy. I think Will and Jada had an agreement, which Will basically says, he said they have an open, honest relationship. Basically, they have talked and agreed upon the terms in which they would do what they do to meet the needs of themselves outside of their relationship, outside of their marriage. I think the issue was that Jada picked someone who, for one, I don't think her intentions were the best. And number two, she picked someone who wasn't in a good place, which is why I come up with, I don't think her intentions were the best. And not that I think Jada meant harm, because I don't mean it at all. What I think, though, is when you haven't done work and you haven't done healing, especially people who tend to be codependent individuals, and codependent individuals are usually people who were abandoned in childhood, who were neglected in childhood, may have had parents that were addicts in their childhood. They tend to have codependent ways, because if you don't resolve those issues, if you don't get healing from that part of your life, you spend your life treating your partners like the parent or the parents that left. You figure if you love them enough, they'll stay. If your role was to be the caregiver, like I've talked about how I parented myself from young years, if you were the caregiver, then that kind of continues on, and you continue to be the caregiver throughout your relationships with individuals. Will does a lot for himself, and they've talked about how basically Will didn't need fixing anymore, so Jada needed someone else that was broken to fix, in a sense. And that lets me know how much healing work she still needs to do. Also, she just recently said, even on this interview that came out with Entertainment Tonight, she said for her 50th birthday, she wants to learn how to love. So that lets you know that this is something she's really struggling with. She has two beautiful children of her own. She has a bonus son with their Will's oldest son, and she has a husband. She has herself, and she has her mother, and she's still conflicted about how to love. Jada isn't alone in that. A lot of people struggle with that, especially if they haven't been brought up in a nurturing manner. So I can understand where that comes from. My heart just bleeds for her, because at 50 years old, this is still like a major struggle for her. And I wish her well, and I hope that she gets the help and goes on the healing journey that can really do the work for her. But you have to surrender to the process. You have to surrender to the process and really be, willing to do the process and really acknowledge where the issues are. Jada did say that she was, last year when they talked on Red Table Talk about why she, had the relationship with August. She said she was broken and she was unhappy. And that was just last year. And I think the entanglement was maybe like a year before. I don't recall, but it was all in recent times. So it just speaks to how if you don't fix yourself, if you don't heal yourself, how that's going to spill over to an unhealthy relationship. Getting married and getting into relationships with people when you haven't developed a healthy relationship with yourself always ends in disaster, because you can't pour out what you don't have. You can't function in a healthy way if you don't know what that looks like. So I am wishing them the best. I will say this, they have decided to commit to their marriage no matter what. And I actually commend it. I commend the fact that they've said, we're in this together. Their children are now grown. And they've decided, we're going to stay and we're going to figure it out. And we're going to work on this with one another versus walking away. And I understand some people will say you just want to walk away. But the truth is, not everyone marries for religious reasons. Not everyone marries for love. Some people marry or stay married for other reasons. I think in their case, A, they've decided, I'm going to be here. B, they've built a lot together and they don't want to tear apart that dynamic. Their dynamic works for them, and this is a choice that they're making. So I personally am not going to judge that. I feel like you do what you feel is best for you in your relationship, as long as all of the parties are consenting, there's honest and open communication, and everyone is comfortable with it. And it's actually Jada who didn't believe in traditional marriages. And I think Will has kind of just morphed into, okay, then that's what I'm going to do. And I think he talked about having some fantasies when he was younger about having a harem of women, which I don't think for a successful young man who had the access that he had in those years, that would be unusual. Again, I'm not excusing nor am I judging either way. Again, if it works for them, they have these conversations. They have these conversations openly. They have them with their family, and Lord only knows like how deep these conversations go with them. But I commend the fact that they would even have the conversation. A lot of people are in relationships, not just marriages, and they're completely unhappy. They're lonely. They feel hopeless. They don't know who they are as a person. There's abuse. There's neglect, and I'm talking about abuse and neglect on several levels, emotionally, physically, spiritually. There's no growth there. So I'm not going to judge a couple who's decided to work through their relationship however they see fit. That's really their business. But I like what Will said. Will said that they're in a better place now, but they both decided to go work on themselves individually and then show up for each other and present themselves to each other. And I love that, because it's like, this is me. Are you able to love me for me as the person you see? Do you still choose me in this relationship as the person I am? And I, in turn, am going to continue to work on myself to show up for you as a better version or the best version of myself. That's how I interpret it. And I think that is great. I am single, but the only way that I will commit to a relationship is if we have this level of transparency and honesty, and both of us are committed to working on ourselves, become better, and showing up better for one another in a relationship. So those are my initial thoughts. My questions for you. Number one, if your partner had a need that you were not willing to meet, or you were no longer willing to meet, what options do you feel like your partner has? To the married people especially, or people in long-term relationships, or who have decided to commit to someone, what options do you have for your partner if that is the case? The second question I have is, are you able to have difficult conversations with your mate? Like, are you able to say, I'm not happy? Are you able to say, this hurt me? Like, how open and transparent are you able to be with your partner? Number 3, are you truly able to transition through life with an individual, knowing that that person may change, they may no longer be who you married or who you decided to commit to? Would you be willing to, or do you love that person enough to move forward? There's a lot that we can take from this topic and just their relationship in general. I probably will do some more videos, not necessarily about them, but just some of the concepts of their relationship, because I find it to be very interesting, especially after just coming off of the talk that first home tuber and I just had about monogamy. Non-ethical monogamy and ethical non-monogamy. My apologies. And polygamy. So I'm curious as to what you guys' thoughts are, how you feel. My final thoughts are, I love the fact that they continue to try to do the work on themselves and each other, and that they communicate. I commend the fact that they stand in their truths, because that's not easy to do, because the world constantly judges you and tells you who you should and shouldn't be, and what you should and shouldn't do. And that they continue to show up for one another unconditionally, What I would like to see more of, though, like I said, I wish Jada the very best. I hope she finds what she's looking for, and that she heals from those past pains, and, really truly forgive. She has to, I feel. Now, these are all my opinions. I feel she really, truly, truly needs to forgive and be honest about the hurt. A lot of times we want to pretend like we're not hurt. I think there's still a lot of pain from her childhood that she probably hasn't dealt with. And like I said, she's alluded to it, but she kind of glosses over it. And she talked about how she would just pick up different addictions, which, again, happens a lot with children who have parents that are addicts. You may not have the same addiction, but you will have addictions most of the time. And it just may or may not look like your parents. It may not be drugs or alcohol. It could be shopping. It could be work. It could be sex. Jada has said she has jumped from one addiction to another, right? So I just really hope and pray that she does the work really seriously that needs to be done. And I'm not saying that she hasn't. I'm just saying that it appears to me that she hasn't, because this is such a struggle for her. And she has more than enough resources at hand. So that's it. So that's it for tonight's episode, guys. That's all I have. But I am curious as to what you think. So make sure you comment below. Also, answer those questions for me. I'm interested. But don't forget to love you for who you are. Thank you and have a great night. Bye-bye.